Hey everybody, this is Dr. Rumsey, and I'm recording a quick lecture video here in week 6. We were supposed to have a synchronous meeting to go over these things, and unfortunately I can't make that time, so I'm making you a video instead, and actually it's 2 videos. To remind you, there in the week 6 folder there's also this document design lecture. It's 9 minutes and 8 seconds. I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and watch that. Pause where you are right here with me and watch that instead to start with, and then come and watch this because I rely on some of the concepts to explain things. In particular, we'll be talking about alignment, repetition, proximity, those sorts of things. So what I wanted to talk with you about today is something that a lot of English majors just don't think very much about, and that is document design. You're very used to, most of you, writing documents that are in MLA format, and so you have your name and the professor's name and the course title and the date and then a title, right? It's very customary. You know what's expected. But once you go out into the world, that type of writing is pretty much not used ever. And so one thing you don't tend to think about because you have this set format is what happens when you make a portfolio. Now back in my day, and I walked uphill both ways in the snow, right? But back in the 90s when we didn't have the computer technology that we did now and I was in school, a portfolio meant that you literally bought a binder, right? One of those 3-ring binders, and you put things in the binder and you separated those things in the binder. If it was me, it was color-coded because, well, you know, other people just did simple dividers, right? And each of those things were labeled. Okay, and then we handed in that physical thing. That's what a portfolio was up until probably, I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I submitted even for my master's degree, and my PhD still submitted a paper document in 2006. So up for quite a while, that was what was assumed. What's happened instead now is people are wanting electronic portfolios. But the problem is most English majors don't think about how they appear. They just slap everything in one document and say, here, read it beginning to end, left to right, front to back. The problem with that is it's not a navigable document, okay? It's just a bunch of individual documents slapped together. And that makes it really hard for the reader. So just like you use transitions between paragraphs or sort of road mapping where your thesis says, here's what to expect in my document, and like those transitions get you from point A to point B, sometimes you have different sections within a single document. You have to think of the same kinds of things that need to happen within the larger document, okay, within the larger portfolio. You can't expect a reader to just simply sit down and read all 50 pages at one time. They might be looking for particular things. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways of creating a portfolio. The CART principles are really useful in terms of thinking about how you use headings, how you repeat certain design features, and those sorts of things. And you might want to think about sort of title pages and tables of contents and those sorts of things. So there's 2 different ways that I like to do it, and I've got student samples to use for both, and I will show them to you now. Okay, so the first one is the most common one, and that is it is a portfolio within a Word document. Like I said, most of you will just take all the papers that you wrote that you want to include and slap them into a single Word document and call it done. That's okay, but it's not a very good design and it's really hard to navigate. So what I'm going to show you here is a fairly typical student sample of what I've received in the past. And let me make this large enough so that you can actually see it and maybe center it on the page. How's that? That's better. Okay, so I mean, you all recognize this. This is probably what you're going to get in several of your peer review groups. Sorry, I blanked. And it's okay. They have a table of contents. So if you wanted to, you could scroll. You know, you want to read about Edgar Allan Poe, so you're like, okay, it's page 16, and then you could grab your cursor and scroll, or grab this little thing over here and move all the way down. It's fine. It's just not very impressive. It looks like an English major did it who doesn't think about design. As a side note, I was absolutely an English major, but my minor was in studio art. So this is stuff that really matters to me. some of you might be in Dr. Keller's multimedia class, and this is stuff that comes into play in her class a lot. So the first thing you might do here to make it stand out a little bit better is to add a title page. Instead of each of your papers might have this kind of heading at the top, but you want a title page for the whole portfolio, not just each document, right? So you're going to put your cursor here and you're going to go to Insert, and then, excuse me, let's see here, there's cover page right here. Okay, so all the way in the left-hand margin next to page break and blank page, you're going to put cover page. Now, there are obvious ones here, right? These are the ones that Microsoft Word gives you. I'm fine with that for this purpose because I'm trying to show you how to put together a professional-looking portfolio. You can absolutely use this information in your career portfolio, and it's going to look a lot more, I don't know, slick or put together. I don't love this one here, the filigree one, because I get it all the time, and my design sensibility is a lot more crisp than that. So I would say that it would be better to choose like this one, Facet, or Ion, or Semaphore. Okay, so for the sake of argument, let's go ahead and use this Facet one up here. This is pretty common. Okay, so behold, you have everything you need to know. Okay, and this would be, oops, now you know what student it was. Student 1. Okay. And so this is, you would just fill this in. Ta-da, good job. So now you have a title page. And if you think of that old binder, you know, someone would open it up and go, oh, this is a portfolio. There's lots of different sections, not just one big document. Okay. So then you scroll down and you're like, okay, wait, he has it set up so that the heading is like an MLA paper, but that's wrong, right? So you'd be like, okay, well, let's delete that. And then this table of contents is kind of on its own. Why would you have the table of contents scrunched up here right next to, I think that this one should be essay about. I mean, you get the idea, okay? To make it tidy looking, think of that binder again. What would you do? You'd turn the page and you wouldn't want everything scrunched up. You'd want your table of contents separate. Okay, so what you're going to do to insert a table of contents is actually click on References. Okay, and then way over here on the left, Table of Contents. And it gives you options. Okay, and none of them are going to be right, so just pick this one. And start by applying a heading or style. Okay, so we're going to have to back up. And we're going to hit Control Z. Okay, so here's what happens. When things that you don't really know about Microsoft Word, some of you, is that when you're not writing English essays where you just type in that stuff that was at the top over here, you use actual headings so that the document is navigable. Okay, so this would be an essay about the academic, this is the personal essay or the reflective essay, right? So up here you're going to notice styles. Right? And so styles is going to give you a couple different options as far as what this is. The title would be all the way back, and look what it does. It's humongous, right? That's what's back on your opening cover page. So you don't need that one. So I would say the next thing would be to pick heading number 1. Okay? And it slides over there and it makes it a heading. Now, what's going to happen here? I'm going to close this out for a second. What happens over here, see this little arrow? And this essay is about an academic portfolio. I'm going to enter this so there's a little bit of space, okay? This is a marker so that when you enter a table of contents, they know that this is a heading, okay? So let's do it again, and I'm going to go ahead and indent that. Let's scroll, scroll, scroll. All right, so he has learning outcomes, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on another page. This would be the same kind of thing. And I don't know if you did yours this way, don't fret, follow whatever the examples were that I gave you before. Okay, so up here in styles, you're like, okay, this is still heading 1. Okay, and then there it is. All right, so that has that little arrow so that the document knows this is like a bookmark so they can find it. Okay, I'm going to do one more to show you how someone might, here's your paper, right? You have both the abstract and a title. So I would say this would be heading 1. I got to scroll to find it. Heading 1, okay? But then you've got, nope, what'd I do? Okay, so I clicked out of it. Okay, and then you've also got the fact that there's 2 things underneath that heading. They have the abstract and the paper. So what you might do here is go back to Styles and pick heading 2. And look, it gives you a second heading. Okay, look at that. It's fancy, right? And down here, you might want to call it paper or essay. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and make this heading number 2. Now for this, I would go ahead and get it onto its own page, right? So now if someone is looking, they have the abstract, and then here's the essay itself. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the top and I'm going to enter that table of contents, right? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert a blank page, right? Because the table of contents maybe should be on its own page, right? To insert the table of contents, you're going to go to References and Table of Contents. It gives you different kinds of things. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do this one. And look what happened. Every time we put heading number 1, it shows you what page it is, right? Down here where you had both the abstract and the essay, it indents it so that you know those are sort of subheadings or heading number 2, right? So if you took the time to go through, right, and then you could go ahead and you could delete this, right? Boop, boop, boop. Sorry, I make funny noises when I'm doing things, and I forgot that I was actually being recorded. Now you know my secret. Okay, so look how sharp this looks, right? All of a sudden it looks professional, and the thing that's cool about this is that you can actually, typically you can actually click on these and go to them. Oh, it's a control click. So let's go to there. Boop, there it goes. Right? And it's so much easier for someone who's reading this to navigate it. And suddenly a single document functions like that old 3-ring binder that had the separations. You could even color code. You could do all kinds of things. I can tell you now that portfolios like this look better, look professional, and they're super useful when you're on the job as well. And you're going to do a career portfolio next, and this is good stuff. So you can come back to this lecture. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and then I wanted to show you the other way that I create portfolios, and that is using Adobe Acrobat. Now, some of you only have Reader downloaded on your computer. You need Adobe Acrobat Pro or the full version, which you can get through through Purdue Fort Wayne, for free to use, or you can use a school computer. Okay, so what I've done here is obviously this was the student sample I just did. Well, then I also created this, and imagine, if you will, each of these elements are the papers that I just did. This is the same sample student, and they went ahead and they talked about your opening narrative. They have the learning outcomes essay, they have all of their papers, and then they have a table of contents. And the only reason it's down here at the bottom is it's alphabetized, right? And you think, okay, this is the order I would want to go in. Oh, but you know what? I don't have a cover page. And again, you'd want a cover page because it looks nice. So just real quick, you could do open new, and we'll put, title page goes here. Smiley face. Okay, and we're gonna file, save as, give me a second. It's gonna be a minute while I save this. Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't remember what I'd saved the folder as, and like a smart person, it is labeled week 6 lecture because it is week 6 and I am lecturing at you. Notice I said at. Okay, so word samples, and we're going to just put it in here, and we're going to call it title page, just so that we know, okay? It's not a real document in this case, but it serves our purpose. Okay, and we're going to close that, and we're going to minimize this. Okay, so you're back to this. Now, you can see all of the elements that you would need to put in. You think of that binder again, and each of those things is separate. So you could opt, if you wanted to kind of go old school with it, you could put like divider pages in between each of them. You'd have to create separate documents, but everything you want to put in it is right here tidy. So then you're going to need to open Adobe Acrobat Pro. Okay, so this is the one, to remind you, that isn't the Reader. This is the one where you get to actually do things, and you can see I use it a lot. Okay, so what you're going to do is click on, why can I not find it? It's Tools. That's what you need to click on. And you want to create a PDF from any format. You want to use multiple files, and you want to create a PDF portfolio. Okay, let me do that again. So you go into Tools, and it's going to be multiple files, and then create PDF portfolio. Next. Okay, so here's this handy dandy thing it gives you, and it's like, hey, drag and drop. So I'm going to move him off to the side, and I'm going to open up this dude, and I'm going to do this. And now you got to put them in order. So I would say I want my title page first, and then I want my table of contents, and then I want my opening narrative, and then I want my learning outcomes, and then I want paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, and I want to make sure I get in the right spot, so I'll do this, paper 5. Okay, so now you have it all in order, right? So then you're going to click Create. Now, what's happening is it is changing all of the documents that you had in Word documents, and it's changing over to PDF documents. So I would say I always trust this and then preview. Okay, so here's your title page, awkward, right? And then you can go to this, your table of contents, and then you can go to opening narrative, paper 1, and obviously it's kind of a mess because we didn't do some of the stuff we did last time, right? And so then you have this neat little navigation bar here on the right. Okay, and then if you go ahead and click save or export, there's a couple different ways of doing it. Extract, create. Well, it saves it as portfolio 1, and you could save it as, academic portfolio 2021 or what have you. And so that gives you a second option of how to create a portfolio. This one works just as well as the first one, although because most of you have created documents that are Word documents, it makes complete sense to go ahead and keep them as one Word document. There are those of you, however, who have been in, say, professional writing classes where you have created brochures or other more visual kinds of things that you saved via PDF. This is the one that you're going to want to do because it's hard to copy something from a PDF into Microsoft Word and have it look the way you want it to look. Okay, so those are the two options. One is to make something in the Word document itself. The other one is to use the Adobe Acrobat Pro. If you've got any questions about this stuff, go ahead and shoot me an email. Obviously, I'm available for questions. I'm sorry that I couldn't meet with you today, but it is what it is. Meet with you tomorrow, rather. And I think that is it for now. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great day.